Dad goes off and have a stupid affair, and your mum's left there to pick up the pieces and struggling to survive. It teaches you a lot. You get bitter, or you get even.
I don't think Gordon would have ended up being a chef if his father hadn't actually left, because I think it very much made him feel he had to prove himself. So, without his father being there, obviously subconsciously there's always that feeling that, you weren't good enough. I think he felt the need to prove himself in whatever arena, and as it was, he turned to food.
Gordon hung up his boots and then shocked the Scottish soccer world by coming out as a trainee chef.
Well, Annie McCoy's called me a puff. You can't go from wearing that amazing strip to putting a pinny on. It just didn't sit right. And then the other option was becoming a bobby, but I wasn't brainy enough to become a copper.
On the advice of his mum, Gordon enrolled on a City and Guilds catering course at Banbury College and found his true vocation.
While on the course, while in the kitchen, you can't have any messing about. And there was very strong discipline there with the head department. Oh, I think he had the determination, certainly. I mean, the way he's got on, he must have had the determination.
Within 2 years of graduating, he landed a job in the kitchen of infamous chef Marco Pierre White.
Marco Pierre White was the first bad boy cook. He famously called his kitchen the SAS of chefs. He would drive chefs till they snapped, and they would either cave in and do exactly what he said all the time, or they would just leave. Some of them left never to work again. He was a really hard taskmaster, and somebody who Gordon has taken a lot of his mannerisms from, taken a lot of his style from.
At just 26, the Pierre White protégé was made head chef of Aubergine Restaurant Chelsea, and the plaudits immediately flooded in for his classic French cuisine. But just as he reached this career milestone, serious trouble was brewing on the home front.
Mum and Dad had become completely separate, and he was out on his own and fell into the wrong crowd. It was his way of dealing with the emotional disturbance that he was going through. My escapism was the job and the freedom and the creativity and the level of excitement that I was putting into my job, and his was clouding himself, cocooning himself in this awful world of drugs.
To try and help brother Ronnie kick his habit, Gordon paid for rehab and gave him a job, but to no avail.
I think that's probably the hardest thing he's ever had to deal with, is having to admit that he couldn't do it, and he had to admit he'd failed. And when he spoke to me about it, he was very upset about it. And I think for his own sanity, a point came where he had to sort of close the door and say enough's enough. He calls it tough love.
Gordon's family problems haven't ended there. 6 years ago, his father died, aged just 53.
3 weeks before he died, we had breakfast together on the pier in Margate, where he taught us both, Ronald and I, to fish. So, we had an argument. The last time I saw him, it was about fried bread, because I wanted toast and he had fried bread, and he insisted in calling me a snob. Then we went for a walk, and for the first time in a long time, I felt really sorry for him, because I saw this sort of small, wee man, dithery, driving around in his van with all his belongings in there, and it wasn't pleasant. Irrespective of the turmoil that we went through, he's still my father. And no matter what happens, you'll always love him, always.
Thankfully, throughout all this, Gordon's work remained a crucial focus point. A pursuit of cooking excellence saw him earn his stripes by collecting stars from the world's leading food guide.
I'm wishing on a star.
Well, anyone who's a chef, the Michelin star is the Academy Award. It's the only rating that really matters.
These days, it's a culinary Bible. 3 Michelin stars is what they all aim for at the top end of the market. Even now, they are really sought after by chefs, and they do bring in punters.
For someone like him who's so completely obsessed with success, they were the trophies that he had to have. They're the only kind of tangible proof that you are the best.
Typically, he wasn't prepared to settle for anything less than the maximum 3 stars. He'd won 2 at Aubergine, but by the late 90s was growing increasingly disillusioned with the restaurant's backers. It was time for drastic action.
The Michelin star-rated Aubergine restaurant was booked to capacity. But at the last minute, it was forced to cancel dinner for all its guests after star chef Gordon Ramsay decided to quit.
When Gordon left Aubergine, I think the entire kitchen staff and floor staff very significantly walked out with him. It's an extraordinary story. I don't know of any other case where everybody walked.
You know, I can't stop my staff from resigning likewise. I mean, they are influenced, they are working there for me, so therefore, if I'm no longer on the premises, what's the point of them staying?
Despite ongoing family pressures and the huge financial risks involved, Gordon gambled all to set up on his own. In a bid for publicity, he made another seismic career decision and allowed TV cameras into his kitchen.
Can't get this pressure pouring out of my head. Can't get this pressure pouring out of my head.
I tuned in with great interest to watch this Michelin man going for his 3rd Michelin star. And I was so proud when I realised it was the...
Guy puts himself in the shit the kitchen, stands there bubbling like a f***ing baby. Sorry, Gordon. You didn't bite back as a guy. You got any bollocks, you?
I do not like the way he pushed the lads around. I don't like that. I think that's horrible. What I don't like was the way he pushed them and then they say, no, chef, yes, chef. I mean, the humiliation of that is horrible.
I'd be embarrassed to watch it now, but I mean, it caught me at a really difficult time. And that was a 12-month scary time in my life where everything was just going pear-shaped, and from Dad's death to borrowing £1.5 million from the bank and having to make something work. So I don't know, if someone would have shown me a better way of dealing with that pressure, I knew I was a monster inside. I can really seriously say, yeah, I was a monster.
It's certainly the first, and maybe even now the only, film that showed the real business of running a top-end kitchen. I mean, Gordon's face, covered with sweat, this rictus of stress and rage across his face.
What's he doing, Mark, that jerk? Is he talking there, Jean-Claude? Fuck.
The problem of our business and the passion and the beauty of it is this obsession about perfection. Gordon is performing from himself every day, every minute, every dish. And because he really felt that, you know, if he isn't good enough for me, he isn't good enough for my customer.
Just look at the thumbprint on there. Look. Look. Come here, you. Hey, Spick. Come here, you. Just look at the thumbprint on there. Get it back and get it clean.
Well, the fingerprint incident might seem a bit ridiculous to most people, but it just shows how obsessed Gordon is. You know, he's fanatical. And it was split right down the middle. A lot of people thought he was great. It was best entertainment they'd seen in years. And other people were just completely appalled by it.
Gordon spoke about receiving hate mail after Boiling Point. These sort of letters saying, you know, if you ever spoke to me like that, I'd, you know, knife you or I'd do this to you. And he seemed genuinely quite appalled by that.
The feedback was horrific. And I said to Mum recently, a couple of months ago, when she came in for dinner, and I just said, you know, was it really that bad? She said, Gordon, you were not my son.
But amidst the furious tirades were rare glimpses of vulnerability.
If you see the footage of Gordon fishing with Marco Pierre White in Boiling Point, I think it's a very revealing piece of tape there. He's looking to please somebody.
He's a nice one.
He wants people to be proud of him, I think. I don't know whose love he's looking for, but I think he's been looking for that his whole life.
The blood, sweat and bollockings turned Gordon into a household name. His next sacrificial lamb was Newcastle burger flipper Ed Devlin. He looked like classic Ramsay cannon fodder when he volunteered for the kitchen boot camp in TV series Faking It.
Right, man, first of all, can you go sort out a jacket, Fred, downstairs? We just have this policy about these names. As you see, no one's got names on jackets because no one's arrived in life.
Right. The scene in Faking It where he gets him to remove the jacket is interesting because it shows another side to Gordon's personality. Editing in some of his series has made him look like the bogeyman, and actually he is a bit of a father figure to his chefs, as all head chefs have to be.
He said, we'll get you another jacket because, like, you know, we like to think that, like, nobody's better than anybody else in this kitchen, you know, which I thought was a bit strange because on the door of the place I just walked in had fucking Ramsay's restaurant, you know what I mean? If no one's better than anybody else, you know, why put your name on it? But
Yes, some chefs were more equal than others, as Ed soon found out.
Fair bit of what?
Julienne vegetables.
Julian. Who the fuck's Julian?
I'm not sure. It's just like, you know, them dead thin vegetables.
Do you know Julian, Mark? Julienne. We'll stick to strips. Fuck the French.
It was like a boot camp. I don't think there's any excuse for being rude or cruel. And in that situation, my first instinct was, you know, fuck you, I don't have to take this, you know, and walk out, because I don't think anybody should have to take it. It's bollocks, you know, all this shit about sort of like, you know, makes you a real man and everything like that. No, it doesn't, it just makes you a dick.
What appears to the outsider to be brutality is in fact affectionate patter. And to his credit, he's a hell of a lot more amusing about it and funny than a lot of his contemporaries. You know, what if he's managed to, you know, tear you a new asshole, he's doing it in an almost poetic way.
When he's calling out an order, you donkey. J'attends le petit peu, là, s'il vous plaît, là. Donut.
You know, let me do my job, and, you know, don't criticise for how I speak to my staff. We're on a mission, and that mission's clear. It's perfectionism.
A mission which, in 2001, earned Gordon that elusive third Michelin star. Formidable. But, as we'll soon discover, his parallel career on TV has proved a little more fishy.
When somebody reaches a hand out to shake your hand, you don't expect cutthroat razor and a stab in the back as well.
And even provoked all-out mutiny.